Hello. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be checking in on Starbucks. Back in December of last year, I posted a video going over some of the horrors that employees of the drink service giant face daily, and mainly in response to denigration efforts from a Karen Slayer turned Darren, who basically mocked an overworked and underpaid Starbucks barista to his audience of over 250,000 people. No one should have to work a job that makes them miserable, but unfortunately a growing number of people are being forced into this modern-day slave trade. Low wages, long hours, and hard labor. The vast majority of the money these people make is put right back into the pockets of the elite by way of groceries, bills, rent, taxes, and tuition. As I told the story 3 weeks ago, I did a brief stint as a grill cook for a chain known as Brahms. I've also worked in a grocery store deli, frying chicken and cutting ham, which was a sucky job, but nowhere near as bad as Brahms. So I haven't worked in drink service, but if food service is anything to go by, as well as the many videos and posts on the internet talking about how it sucks to work at Starbucks, I'll most probably avoid that business like the plague. The employees at Starbucks are so miserable there that their top hopes for the day is getting into a car wreck on their way to work and getting injured so that way they don't have to work, or getting fired so they can maybe go on unemployment. When your workers hate their lives that much, that's no moral failing on their part. Something is truly wrong with the working conditions and the way the company is run. The customers are probably a whole different story too. Today I'm going to look at the Reddit community Unionize Starbucks. After 6 months, let's see what 2023 has been like for the average Starbucks employee. Is it better? Have Starbucks employees unionized en masse? Or is it worse? Are workers' lives still as miserable as ever? Let's take a look. The first thing I'm greeted with is this meme titled Starbucks IRL. I have to work 2 jobs to make ends meet, I make the same money as a new hire after 3 years, and if I am sick again, I have to use the rest of my vacation time, are some of the complaints Starbucks workers have, that the company refuses to address time and time again. A common struggle of people working in retail and food and drink service is needing to work 2 jobs. I personally don't think I would ever work a second job, too much hassle with scheduling agreements with employers that always has a chance to backfire. For example, it is not unheard of for employers to schedule workers that are attending school for hours that conflict with classes, as well as events such as graduation or sports games. Who's to say that employers don't schedule workers for hours that conflict with the hours of another employer? But also, I believe in picking up side hustles as opposed to taking up a second job. For example, what I do here on YouTube would usually be considered a side hustle during times when I am employed, even though right now I am not earning any money. But even just selling artwork or writing a book would be a better secondary source of income as opposed to having 2 primary commitments to jobs. Another huge complaint of people working at Starbucks and most other retail and food and drink service jobs is either no raises or raises so small that the starting wage eventually catches up with what you make after years of working with the same employer. The new starting wage is not applied to your own, effectively erasing the years of progress through hard work you have made. Also, a major complaint is having no sick time. It is not unheard of for Starbucks workers to come in sick because they're afraid of getting punished for calling off after using up all their sick and vacation time. Retail and food and drink service employers expect their workers to function like robots, and the minute the human can no longer keep up this charade, the employer begins hanging a knife over the head of the associate. The next post is a text post calling for immediate action. It reads, Ithaca is the first and only town in America where 100% of Starbucks workers are unionized. On Friday, May 5th, Starbucks announced that they would be permanently shutting down the remaining 2 Ithaca Starbucks stores. The company made this announcement after the National Labor Relations Board prosecuting Starbucks for closing down the College Avenue store in Ithaca. Yet Starbucks continues to make money in Ithaca by selling its coffee through Cornell Dining. We need your help to tell Cornell Dining that selling union-busting coffee is unacceptable. Please call this number, blacked out because I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube for releasing what they might consider to be private information. Link to OP will be in the description. Starting at 2 p.m. EST today to tell Cornell to end their contract with Starbucks. Here is the script. Hello, this is blank. I'm a Cornell student supporter community member. I am calling to voice my support of today's student action to demand Cornell Dining end its contract with Starbucks Coffee due to the company's egregious union busting in Ithaca. Cornell needs to listen to the voices of its student body and end all relations with Starbucks on campus. We support the students' demands that Cornell publicly release the terms of Cornell's contract with Starbucks and commit to collaborating with student advocates to select and implement a new ethical campus-wide coffee vendor by the fall 2023 semester. Thank you for listening. End call. Solidarity, Ithaca Starbucks. Unfortunately, this doesn't seem to have succeeded so far, but I hope me relaying this information to my audience will bring some reinforcements. Our unionized Starbucks is only about 4,800 strong, but but maybe an extra $1,100 will put some leverage into the hands of the people working at Cornell Dining in Ithaca, New York. The next one is another text post titled Separation Advice. It reads, I'm hoping since you all are very well versed in the legal workings of Starbucks, you might be able to point me in the right direction. My daughter was promoted to ASM in November, and they fired her today. Based on what they gave her, it's unjustified in her opinion. What can she do to fight this? She said she's required to go through an arbitrator, but obviously that route protects Starbucks, not her. We are in New York. TYIA for any help. I apologize if this isn't the place for this. She's extremely distraught and doesn't know where to get help. As for the reason OP's daughter was fired, he seems to allude to his daughter getting fired for small mistakes, which is absolutely not unheard of. Retail and food and drink service employers will pull this shit so they don't have to give raises and ultimately keep everyone at the same pay rate, especially the higher paying positions such as managers, assistant managers, and team leads. Just looking at a place like Dollar General even, the company cannot keep management because the work is so chaotic, unorganized, or there's just too much to do with the small amount of manpower that the managers are allowed to hire. What makes Dollar General different, however, is that they put effort into trying to get their higher level associates to quit before they have to give them a raise, rather than just fire them before it comes time to give them a raise. The worst part about most companies that fire associates this way, like Starbucks does, is they can just claim at-will employment and avoid having to give a fair reason for firing an associate. And unfortunately, more often than not, that associate is left with no one to turn to except for human resources, which the company often lies to associates saying that HR is there to help you, but HR is actually only there to help the company. If the worker can afford it, which most can't, they can hire a lawyer and file a lawsuit against the company, but unless you have a truly good lawyer, you might as well forget it because companies like Starbucks can literally just bribe a judge and tell the worker to eat shit. At-will employment is a loophole that companies like Starbucks and so many others use to fire people they don't like or be able to discriminate based on race, gender, sexual orientation, age, and disability. As long as at-will employment exists, job security cannot. As long as companies can hide behind the veil of at-will employment, equal opportunity employment means nothing. We need job security so we, the working people, won't have to go to work every day fearing that this is the day that they're going to get fired. We need equal opportunity employment so everyone can get a good job and put food on their table and provide for their family. The working class needs better incentive to work. $12 an hour isn't going to cut it anymore. Even $15 an hour is starting to look like a pretty low number. We need better sick leave, vacation time, and parental leave. Unionization sounds like a good short-term goal for the working class, but as we see time and time again, it will eventually backfire. The big reason it backfires so often is because the employee base of Starbucks is not engaging in a constant and collective effort to flip the company on its head and resist the lies and intimidation from the corporate dogs in charge of the company. I encourage anyone that still has their doubts on unions, regardless of whether you work at Starbucks or not, to research unions for yourself and talk to unionized workers. Form your own opinion and don't let the company think for you. Unions can provide better wages, better sick, vacation, and parental leave, and fairness in the termination process. If the employee base of Starbucks were to unionize en masse right now, Starbucks corporate would have two options: negotiate with their workers or shut down everything. They would more than likely think twice before burning their company to the ground. Workers are more powerful than corporations when they work together, and that is where I'm going to drop the mic. One thing I did want to mention before I get off here, it's been almost 3 months since I quit Dollar General and 16 months since I was fired from Walmart. I've made some recent breakthroughs with better employers, and I might finally be seeing my escape from the black hole of retail and food service. I recently interviewed for and was offered a public service labor job with my local city. I turned down the job, however. I was going to be hired on as a seasonal employee, so there's no guarantee that I would even keep the job, and the wage was $10 an hour. So yeah, I can go work for the school district as a janitor and get paid much more. I can go back to retail and get paid about the same amount, give or take. So the city turned out to be a disappointment. But I was also guaranteed a job as a security guard at a manufacturing facility just up the road from my base of operations this week. The wage is $8.50 an hour, so it's lower than what the city was offering, but they're working on getting a raise to $14 an hour, so that's nearly as much as I was making as an overnight stalker for Walmart. And all they do is make rounds and sit in a shack, watching around. So that sounds pretty good. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to finally have something to put money in my pocket. Probably going to look into going to trade school soon. I'd like to get into either HVAC, construction engineering, or meat cutting. This job, if I get it, will allow me to pay my way through it. But anyways, if you liked what I had to say about Starbucks, consider hitting the thumbs up and sharing the video far and wide. Leave your horror stories as a Starbucks employee or elsewhere in the comments below, and please consider subscribing. It will help this channel. Click the bell to get notifications for when I upload too. Also, if you feel that I'm worth $3 a month, you can toss that my way by becoming a contributor to my Patreon through the link in the description. You'll help me stave off poverty and allow me to continue operating this channel on a weekly basis. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll be back next week for another video. Bye guys.